Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. It's team news time. We're looking ahead to double game week 23. My name is Joe, and as ever I am joined by fixtures, injury, team news guru Neale from Fantasy Football Scout. Neale, how are you?
Not too bad, thank you, Joe. Yeah, I was just remarking how on time for once.
Hello?
I think it was Az that was holding me back.
Yeah, he was. He was projecting lateness.
Yeah,
as you were late, even though he was on time. But yeah, he was
exactly.
He was making you late. Yeah, we knew that. So yeah, Az is no longer doing the team news. So I've been filling in for him for a while. So I'll carry on, and we'll do that. And we've got some exciting Nathan Ferguson news coming up later, so we're gonna really go for that one. But what we're gonna do is, as ever, we're gonna look through the fixtures as they start. So the first one is West Ham Chelsea. Just wanted to thank everyone who has joined us in the live chat so far. Dave M, Anders the official Anders, not the unofficial one. FPL Gaza, Hanzo, yourself, you're in there. Neale, hello Neale. Tony, Ammon, and Jack, Francis, Metallica, hopefully all of them. Brilliant. Great to see you all here. Do remember to press like. Do remember to subscribe. Do tell your friends and neighbours to do likewise. Let's crack on. West Ham against Chelsea. That's when game week 23 starts. Let's start with the home side first. West Ham. Any update from David Moyes? He's usually quite vague.
He is, and he was suitably vague today. He did say he wasn't expecting anyone back, so there was 4 players out last weekend: Zuma, Scamaca, Cornier, and Areola. So he's assuming they're all going to miss out again. One new addition to that was Thilo Kehrer, who came off at half time, and he's now a problem according to Moyes. So could miss out.
Okay. Meanwhile, some more news at Chelsea, though. So we do have some interesting news there, particularly around Raheem Sterling. I understand might not feature.
Yeah, it looks doubtful, this one. So he's got a knock to the knee, and Potter described it as a little setback and said he was probably doubtful. So it does sound like he's going to miss out. Otherwise, though, it's pretty good news. So Joao Felix is back from suspension. They've got 3 players back in training as well. This game will probably come too soon for them. It's Zakaria, Kovacic, and Fofana, but gradually getting bodies back. I think that just leaves the 4 longer term ones, which are Broja, Pulisic, Mendy, and Kanté.
Right, yeah, okay. So, yeah, I mean, as those who've been following the transfer market goes, Chelsea have bought seemingly everyone. Name a player, they probably just bought them. So there's quite a lot going there. So it's still quite hard to judge. Hopefully we can get some kind of semblance of a starting 11 together there. But it is Graham Potter as well, so it's like a double whammy, which is going to affect us. Chelsea, we're going to be interested when they double at some point, but that's not this week. Arsenal, however, do double, and this is the first of their matches. Arsenal against Brentford. This is probably the one you really want your key assets to start, as opposed to the City game a bit later. What news from Arsenal, particularly around Jesus? Seen him running up and down the sidelines this week.
Yeah, he's back on the grass. Good news for Nketiah owners is that it sounds like he'll not be playing for a little while yet.
Okay.
So Arteta started off today's presser by saying that the ones that were long term, so that's Jesus, Nelson, and Smith Rowe, they're closer but not quite ready for consideration. He was then asked again about Jesus, and says that he's doing really well. He's been outside a little bit, still early stages, and we need to respect the timelines and some processes. And then said didn't have a return date, and it's still too far off that. So, judging by what he said there, and he mentioned about putting load on the knee and then starting to get some movement, he still sounds like the early stages of on-field rehab. And that kind of fits with what we heard from the man himself. I think it was after the North London derby, wasn't it? He said another 4 or 5 weeks, which would put us on course for around about end of February, beginning of March.
Okay.
So it looks around about like that now, but he's closing in. He's got like...
It could be game week 25. I know we're looking at 23.
It could be.
But
it could be. But as others have pointed out as well, even just getting back in the matchday squad is not in the starting 11. You'll assume after 3 months out they'll be given a couple of games off the bench at first, and then building these match fitness up steady. So yeah, and Nketiah could be in situ for till the March international break maybe.
Okay. Did he give any hint about the Trossard-Martinelli conundrum that us
Not
Martinelli
really.
owners?
No, he did. He did come up with a comment after defeat last week against Everton, where he said, I love the players even more after defeat," which I think is him saying, they need my support at this time when they have suffered a rare loss. I'd be surprised if he changed anything
Okay.
starting 11 wise.
Great stuff,
Now,
especially
yeah.
for Martinelli owners out there. But I know a number of people are looking to switch him,
Yeah.
but which I wouldn't put anyone off either.
No, I think expected minutes is one thing. I think obviously now they've got reinforcements on the bench, they will, as we saw last week, his game time is going to be eaten into. But I think just for now, I think starts are still Martinelli's.
Okay. So Brentford, what's happening there? Because they can be tricky opponents. So yeah, what's the latest there?
Yeah, I think the form table. I think since top of the form table for the last 6 weeks or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're pretty quiet on the team use front. So Janssen and Onyeka are very close to coming back. They're in training or about to return to training. Not considered for this one. Other than that, it's just a backup goalkeeper, Strakosha, who's injured, and everyone else is fine.
Rightio. Okay, let's move on. This is the derby, the M23 derby, the Peace Pottage Services derby, whatever you want to call it. It's the derby that they all talk about across Europe, and no one can quite understand. Crystal Palace host Brighton. Hard to predict, but Brighton are the form team at the moment, and Crystal Palace. Will they be without or with Wilfried Zaha, the bête noire of Brighton and Albion?
Well, we don't know yet. We'll hopefully find that out tonight in the second section of Vieira's press conference, because part of it was embargoed. He didn't give anything away in this section, the broadcast section. If the original timeline was right, which was a fortnight, that was last week, then obviously he misses out. But I wouldn't put it past Vieira to try and keep it quiet and rush him back. So it's Zaha and Anderson, they're the main concerns, both flagged at the moment. MacArthur's back. He's been back in training for a while. He's not featured this season at all. And the big news that everyone's...
Drum roll, please.
Yeah, not Zaha, not Anderson. And Nathan Ferguson has trained for a few weeks now without any setbacks. Now, that's... Vieira mentioned that MacArthur would be in the squad. He didn't mention it about Ferguson. So it might still be that he's a little way from a playing comeback. Maybe it's under 21 minutes first. But he's got through the first phase anyway of not getting... any repercussions or re-injuries, something like that.
Once he sees the Brighton lineup and he sees Matoma in it, it'll be like that Simpsons granddad meme where he comes through the door and just walks straight back out again.
Yeah,
I'm not facing him. Brighton, Matoma, obviously, I presume he's fit and raring to go, but up top as well, because Brighton could be fielding two up top. They've been doing that sort of Welbeck and a striker. Yeah. But Ferguson was injured. But could Ferguson come back for this?
Well, he's fit anyway, so that's one good bit of news, because we did think at first that might be weeks and months. De Zerbi did mention him. He said he's available, but he has to choose between him. I think not just him and Undav, but him, Undav, and Mitoma, I think was the full quote. And I don't think Mitoma's dropping down anytime soon.
Wow.
Said Undav was key to the way they've been playing, etc. But he's only just played one game and then missed a hatful of chances against it was a Bournemouth
game. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just think he's maybe trying to talk up Undav's credentials without being too harsh on him. I would have assumed he dropped straight back out, because it's not just Ferguson that's back; it's McAllister as well.
Yeah. Which
frees up Gross to play further forward if needed. Although he's been playing everywhere from left back to right back to centre mid. We did get two players who are definitely going to start tomorrow. This is De Zerbi. The new Bielsa, he said that Veltman's going to play, and he said that McAllister's going to play, who's of course back from...
so Veltman will be right back, we would presume. Lamptey out then.
You would presume, but he also played at centre-half, didn't he, recently, Veltman, in place of Colwell, who's still out. Okay. Of course, he got Webster as well, who could play there.
Okay, so, Brighton, they blank in Gameweek 25, but obviously have good fixtures like this one before that, and they are popular at the moment. Good. Fulham against Nottingham Forest, another couple of teams that are popular amongst fantasy managers. Nottingham Forest is starting to look quite good, especially with their great new goalkeeper. I heard of him somewhere. And Fulham, obviously, confounding us all season really. So let's start with the home side first with Fulham. Any injury updates there?
just a minor one, which isn't going to concern many people. So Kearney's out. He's a impact sub at best. Anyway, Harrison Reed has recovered though, which is good for the defensive returns, I suppose, in front of the back four. He's recovered from a midweek knock, and that just leaves Kearney and Cabana, who's long term out.
Okay. Meanwhile, Nottingham Forest, the visitors there. So, what's Steve Cooper been saying?
Well, whatever he says, you take with a huge dose of salt.
No.
Because he is. I was thinking of doing this maybe the national break, of ranking the managers from most helpful to
really good,
or to devious
to a league.
Yeah, truth. Yeah,
relegated to the devious league.
Yeah, so he is, and we saw it last week. He didn't mention Gibbs White was going to be fit, and Robbie Hulley's reappeared. I've done that a number of times this season. Mark warned me about this before the season started in the promoted series, but he says, if we're taking him at his word, that there's nobody going to be back of the injured contingent. So that's including Henderson, including Yates, who's going to return next week.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so Henderson, Niakate, Kouyaté, Awani, Yates, Bianconi, Richards, all out. Shelby is back in training, so he's been out. He was out for Newcastle for about 6 weeks. He's been back in training this week. Cooper said he's close, and he's been impressed with what he's seen on the grass, so he could come into this.
Okay. Leicester against Tottenham next up. Traditionally a goal fest for fantasy managers, particularly with Harry Kane and in the past Jamie Vardy. Let's start with the home side first, Leicester. There's been quite a few injuries in recent months there. Anyone coming back? I mean, what's the latest there?
They're starting to look a bit more healthy now. They've got Justin out long term, but apart from that, everyone's nearing a comeback, or definitely in the squad this weekend. One of those is Ricardo Pereira, so he's going to be involved in a match day 18, probably as a sub. Evans and Sumari, I think, are back in training as well, but this might come too soon for those two. Ndidi's back. Burton's even playing. Remember him? I think he's been out about 14 months. I think he's part of that training ground friendly with Pereira in midweek. He's not
got
quite
a Champions
ready.
League winner medal, hasn't he? Burton.
Chelsea. He does. Yes, he does. Yeah, you're right.
Played in that final, I seem to remember.
Yeah. And was briefly an FPL pick of choice. I think it's Southampton. He was decent, but he's just been so much out of the picture.
Yeah.
For Leicester, but he's played in that friendly. He's not be involved this weekend, but again, building up his fitness. So I think that just leaves Justin on the sidelines with a lot of choice now for Rodgers.
Right, yeah. Meanwhile, at Spurs, actually, big news there in goal, I understand, with Spurs. What's happened there?
Yeah, this was rumoured on Wednesday, and it has come to pass that Lloris is going to be out for 5 to 7 weeks with a knee injury. Okay. So again, that takes him out probably to the international break, which means Fraser Forster gets to start between the posts, and he's 3.9 million in FPL. So if you happen to be wildcarding this week or have a luxury transfer, if you already got triple Arsenal, triple City, triple God knows what else, and covered for all the blanks, then Forster's definitely
not a bad shout. They've got good fixtures up until when you might want a wild card.
They have, yeah. They've got a good run coming up now. They are without Lloris. They are without Romero this week as well. He's suspended, and they're also without Basuma, who's just gone under the knife for ankle surgery, I think. But he was back up anyway.
Okay, so Southampton face Wolves. Nathan Jones is doing that thing that managers who might perhaps not be managers of clubs for very long do, where they start to blame other people, and but he's starting to do that a little bit. So anyway, ex-Brighton and Yeovil legend. So I wish him well and hope he does stay there and does well. But what has Nathan Jones been saying then about Southampton ahead of this match? Must win, isn't it?
I would think so. Yeah. I mean, I'm getting Steve Bruce vibes from Nathan Jones in terms of on the back foot, and as you said, blaming everybody else. Team news wise, now this was one of the 4 that was yesterday, and he thinks that the game will come too soon for Juan Larios, and Livramento was out as well.
Okay.
A bit coy on Armstrong, and who was the other one?
Kyle Walker-Peters, yeah.
Yes, Kyle Walker-Peters, well done. Yes, they've been out recently, but I think they're back in training. They're a lot further along the line than Larios, according to Jones, so they could be back. But I've mentioned this in the team tab. I think theirs is probably the hardest lineup to predict this weekend, even including City's, because he's just got so many new recruits and he's changing his tactics and personnel every single week during games as well. So, bit of a crapshoot, really.
Wolves wouldn't normally dwell on them, but they've got a double in game week 25, so people might be starting to look at bringing their players in. What sort of shape are they in? Who might play this? Who might drop out?
Yeah, 2 good fixtures before the double as well for Wolves, starting with this one. So the game going to be without Traore, Chiquinho, and the Serbian or can't remember his nationality even, never mind his name, but he's out till the end of the season anyway, you don't need to worry about him. Neto is back. Remember him again. He's been, I think, 4 months out with an ankle problem.
Goals imminent table legend.
Yes, exactly, yeah. Is he still on there from earlier in the season?
He just dropped off. But yeah, if we went last 4 matches he played, he was there for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, he's just back to boost up his XG now, so he's not guaranteed to feature this weekend, but they're thinking about it. Hwang's going to be out. This is the new injury. 4 or 5 weeks. Played actually quite well since Lopetegui's been in. And Lamina, who was very, very good last weekend, is going to be assessed because of a knock. He's one other player, I think, who's touch and go who wasn't named. So be prepared for a team sheet shock.
A little later, we will say that phrase again, touch and go, but that's for later. Bournemouth against Newcastle. Nothing from Bournemouth, but that's probably I haven't seen anything from Bournemouth, but that's probably a good thing because you're not too keen on them in terms of their press conference credentials.
He's a bit like Cooper, really, O'Neil. There was a line from the presser about Kelly being stripped of the captaincy and Neto being awarded it, but we've seen nothing on the team news front. I suspect something will come out later on, maybe again at 10:30 p.m. What we do know is that they've got, I think, 8 players flagged. Rooks, Frederick, Stanislas, Cook, Kelly, Solanke, Stevens and Tavernier. A lot of them are first teamers. Solanke and Tavernier were back on the grass last week, so maybe they're closer this week, but I suspect no one gives 2 hoots.
Right, your team, Newcastle, we do have an update from them, though. And what's Eddie Howe been saying? In the Eddie Howe derby, of course.
Yeah, and the Callum Wilson and Ryan Fraser derby.
It is. Yeah. It's a big derby.
What's that? The A1 derby,
the length of Britain derby.
Yeah, yes. So we are up 1 in terms of numbers. So that's Alexander Isak's back. He was concussed last weekend, so he's back. Still missing Target, Mankiw, and Kraft, who were injured, and still missing Bruno as well, who's suspended for the next 2 league games.
Okay, so Matt Target is nearing a return, apparently.
He is, yeah. He's back in training. So is Mankiw, I think, as well.
Okay,
so not too long.
Okay, well, another derby of sorts. Leeds against Manchester United, certainly a very intense rivalry. It was all square last time they met them. They're meeting again. So let's go for the hosts this time, who are Leeds. Who might miss out on this one?
It sounds like there's a few concerns anyway. So Rodrigo, we know, is definitely out. Same with Dallas.
Right.
Let me bring up the list from today. Sinisterra is not too serious, so he came off with a muscle problem very early on against Man United in midweek. It's a different injury to what he had before, but they're still not sure if he features this Sunday. Same with Rocker and Cooper, who missed out with Knox on Wednesday. They're going to be assessed again. Pascal Strauss definitely out. He's concussed, so he's definitely going to miss this one. Apart from that, the interim boss said that the long-term injuries are the same, so we assume that Forshaw, Gray and Perkins are out as well.
Meanwhile, quite a busy treatment room at Manchester United as well. Do we got any indication who any of those injured stars might be back?
Yeah, this was a weird one because this wasn't on our press list for today, but it was on yesterday's, and it's come out today at 1:30. So whether he's filmed it yesterday and then it's been embargoed till today, I'm not quite sure. But anyway, they're going to be without Eriksson, Van der Beek, and Casemiro, as we know. Casemiro is still suspended, and he doesn't expect any of the injured players back. So that is Martial, McTominay, and Anthony.
Okay.
Which leaves them, I wouldn't say down to the bare bones because they've got a cluster of young wingers who can come in, but it furthers the likelihood, I think, of Rashford playing through the middle because that was the tactical change he did on Wednesday when Weghorst came off. Rashford went up top. Wan-Bissaka we don't know about. He was ill. He wasn't injured in midweek, and he wasn't covered as part of that team news update. So he could return. And you'd think he would be more suitable for facing Nanto, given his more defensive skill set, but we're not sure whether he's going to be fit or not.
Okay. Manchester City play Villa. So obviously we're going to be getting lots of updates about team news and who's definitely going to start, and probably barely touch on financial fair play. Was that the case in Pep's conference?
Yeah, I think they briefly brushed on the FFP.
Okay.
Yes, it was entirely on FFP.
Okay.
So we didn't get a single bit of team news. And here's the icing on the cake. It's a Sunday game, so the embargoed section is tomorrow night
Right.
after the deadline. So Saturday evening, and we're all sat down and looking forward to Sunday's game involving Man City. Pep comes up with a team news update and rules out half the squad. But yeah, we don't know who's going to be fit. Stones is out, we know that. Foden's been pictured back in training. He had been meant to be coming back last weekend, but took ill. Yeah. So he's been back in training, so we assume he's fine.
Okay.
And I think our only clue now is to look at more training ground photos if we get them in and see who's there, and then it's a guessing game as to who starts.
Okay, so their second game, as we said earlier, is against Arsenal. So it really is this clash we want Manchester City players to start, especially those that are tripled up. But yeah, a nervous wait for those that have tripled up, because no one, not even KDB, is safe at the moment.
Nope.
Meanwhile, Aston Villa, how are they? They nearing quite full fitness. I know they've had they recalled Traore on loan, didn't they?
They did, and he's one of the ones who's back in training this week as well. So he was absent last weekend, but he is back in training, as I said, and that just leaves Diego Carlos, and even he's back next week on the grass. So that's it, I think, on the team news front.
Okay, let's move on to another derby. It's a real derby weekend. It's almost as if they planned it. Liverpool against Everton. Let's go for the home team first then. So this is quite important because Liverpool have a double in game 25, and they've been awful at the moment. So I'm personally wanting to invest in them, but they might have some players back, and they might have some more players to choose from, and they might just improve. So what's Jurgen Klopp been saying about some of those players that have been on the treatment table?
Yeah, well, 4 of them have been back in training this week, so they're all nearing a return. The 4 in question are Van Dijk, Arthur Melo, Diogo Jota, and Roberto Firmino. Ooh, so Jota is the closest out of that lot. He might even be in the squad on Monday.
Wow.
That's what Klopp said today. He's the closest. Firmino and I think Arthur are next. They're going to see how they deal with training intensity, and then Van Dijk I think is a little bit behind. Klopp said he didn't think he's going to be ready for Monday, but nevertheless, all returning in time for 25, which heightens the rotation risk, but arguably makes attacking returns and defensive returns more likely if you've got Van Dijk at the back again, and if you've got Jota and Firmino able to impact on the forward line. So yeah, returning just in time for that double, hopefully. Apart from that, Diaz and Konate we are out. They're a little bit behind the others. Fabinho was ill. He's now been back in training, and Thiago is a fresh addition. Actually, he has been struggling with a hip flexor injury this week. Hasn't trained, and I think they're still assessing him and seeing how that goes. But a doubt for the derby anyway.
Okay, touch and go fans. This is their moment, isn't it? Sean Dyche is back in the Premier League with Everton. Did he say touch and go at all?
He did.
Hey.
He did. Yeah, very early on. It was in relation to Calvert-Lewin, and I suspect he's going to be saying that a lot about Calvert-Lewin.
He says it all the time
in his tenure, because he's hamstrung again, as old Calvert-Lewin. He came off as a precaution. It was originally reported as a win over Arsenal, and now it could be something more serious. So, touch and go at best was the full quote from Dyche. So that's probably one below touch and go. And he said he's had a couple of niggly injuries. You have to get on top of it, and you think about the long term. So do not be surprised if he's not involved at Anfield on Monday. And based on previous updates from Dyche at Burnley, that's no guarantee that he'll be in the team anytime soon, because we had myriad instances of Dyche and touch and go every week about the same player.
Yeah,
and then them not being involved. So he's not going to feature. Well, I'd be amazed if he features in this one. And we'll see beyond that, because they've got a double come up as well.
Patterson, he's in my team on my bench. I saw a picture of him running today.
Yes, indeed.
Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been on the grass. Now let me just read up on the rest of that team news because I saw the Calvert-Lewin one. Yeah, all Everton are reporting is that he's back on the grass completing individual work.
Okay.
He's not in team training yet.
Right.
Townsend's also out as well, and Garner and Godfrey are back in full training. So that yeah, Patterson's the main one of that
Yeah,
lot.
that
You want him
that
for 25.
could be 25 then if he's.
It could be, but then again, even if he's fit, does he displace Coleman? Because you know what Dice is like.
Mm.
I suppose what happens between now and then, if they win or defensively solid in 23 and 24, then I'd be amazed if Patterson gets back in the team because Dyche, we saw this at Burnley, just keeps a settled defence
Yeah.
week in, week out. If they're doing all right, then we saw it with like Loughton and it Barnsley, one of them would get a long string of games and then there'll have to be a real bad patch of form for it to change. So he's not a rotator.
There's so many Burnley players there. He's there. It's just I was saying in a video earlier this week they're just becoming Burnley now, and which is great for fantasy managers because they all parts of the pitch. There's some real stars there, particularly at double game week time, which happens with Everton in 25. Okay, so the next match we haven't got any team news for because it's Arsenal against Manchester City in midweek. So we're just going to have to wait on that and hope for the best with our players, but it's too far away really to gauge who's going to be playing there. What I have got though is a nice handy roundup of all the team news that we've been talking about. So I'll just quickly rustle through that for the benefit of people. Just also a reminder to please do subscribe and do press that like button. It really helps us out. So fit to play, Ferguson at Brighton, Isaac at Newcastle, Felix back from suspension, McAllister as well as back. I'll put Ferguson in twice. Why not? He's doubly good. Questionable though. Evans, I mean, he's probably more of a major doubt, but you know what I mean. He's basically possible but unlikely. And Didi as well at Leicester for personal reasons he was out. Target could be back, maybe.
He's out. He's out with this one.
He's definitely out. He's got a heel problem there. Jota's fitness really, so he's questionable. Might start, might not. Might be, should be in the squad, but we don't know about his minutes. Pereira at Leicester, fitness issues, so unlikely. Possibly he was in a behind closed doors game midweek for Leicester, so he could certainly get minutes. Wan-Bissaka illness could be back. Neto ankle could be back. Sterling knee unlikely, questionable at the moment. Fofana fitness and Zakaria fitness as well, so we don't know whether they're going to be back. Sinistera a hamstring, and Calvert-Lewin is of course touch and go. I should just put touch and go there, actually. I think I'll start doing that in future for Calvert-Lewin rather than injury. Major doubt Zaha, he's pretty much not going to play. Walker-Peters hamstring, same as Zaha. Firmino fitness issues, so unlikely there. Martial hip, Anthony leg, is going across the body here. Keane and Patterson both knees there, all very much major doubts. Definitely out. Jesus is some time away there. Smith Rowe, he's got groin issues still. Yates knock. Lloris knees having surgery, so he's out for 5 to 7 weeks. Romero suspended for Spurs. Gomes for Newcastle suspended. Van Dijk is not going to return this weekend. His thigh injury still. Eriksen won't return, ankle injury. Casemiro suspended. Huang hamstring, stroke concussion. He definitely won't play. John Stone's definitely out. That's the only bit of Manchester City news we've got at the moment, really. And Diego Carlos, is Achilles issues there. So, and as a saucy nugget in the live chat's pointed out, head, shoulders, knees and toes. I haven't got any toe injuries in here for you, but hopefully we'll have head, shoulders, knees, toes and touch and goes, obviously. Neale, thanks so much for joining me. Good luck, everyone, with Game Week 23. Hope your players play and hope they do well. But obviously, I hope mine do better. But that's what all FPL managers think it, but only others say it. But have a great game week. Neale, thanks so much for joining us. It was great to get all that information there. See you later.
Bye-bye.